Like Nipsey Hussle says, it's not a race, it's a marathon. Like Kobe says, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
California, California, living my life in California, 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 getting it right in California, did life in California, state prison, California, mama just called California, where you at, fool? California, 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 don't get tired in California, I run a marathon in California. Zatu, what's the deal, man? It's hot out here. We in the middle of a major heat wave, killing the whole nation. So instead of coffee, we got that good old H2O. Don't smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol, but I do drink that good H2O. Make sure you get you some so you don't pass out. Take care of your health out there. So today, we got a big episode. We're about to go visit the foundation, the UCI Underground Scholars Program. This is their pamphlet. We're about to go check them out in person. Let's read you what they are really quick. The Underground Scholars, the UCI Underground Scholars Program creates a pathway for incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, and system impacted individuals in the higher education. Let's go check them out and see what they got to say. What's up, bro? What you doing, man?
I'm chilling.
Yeah, how long you been here today?
A couple hours.
Shoot. What's everybody doing in here? Big Hector, shout out. What's up? You got to be interviewed? I want to ask about the Underground Scholars, bro. And I know you've
For
been
sure,
doing this a
let's
long
go.
time.
My name is Chris. I'm currently a student at Santa Ana College. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be one of the ambassadors for Underground Scholars here at UCI. I'm tied into it because of my own past, being both system impacted and formerly incarcerated, and just motivated to help people. That's about it.
Alejandro, what's up, bro? What are you doing?
Chilling, dude. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. What brings you over here today?
Just chilling, you know, how to check in with the family. You
Underground
know.
Scholars?
Yes, sir. You know.
Hey, we're doing a video today. We're checking out the Underground Scholars. You heard of Hood Vlogs. This is like Hood Vlogs for college.
Okay.
College vlog. So we
Alright.
came to see the UCI Underground Scholar Program. You happen to be Underground Scholar.
That's
You down
right.
to do an interview?
I'm down. I'm down.
Tell ya, bro. Let's
Yeah.
capture this.
Sure. So my name is Alejandro Cabrera. Right now, I just finished up my second year of college here at UC Irvine. Studying Chicano Latino Studies, minoring with education and psychology. You know, so pretty much, you know, I'm enjoying my summer, kicking it at the Underground Scholar spot with the homies, and that's about it.
Diana, what's up? How you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up?
What are you? Is that what book are you reading?
Riots, violence, drugs, police, gangs, prison, and college.
Oh, that's lit. I was just coming to interview about the Underground Scholars Program. You down to do an interview?
I'm down. So hello, my name is Diana. I am the program coordinator here at Underground Scholars Irvine. I was born and raised in South Central LA. I went to Cal State Fullerton where I got my bachelor's in English. I did become a teen mom during my time there when I was 18, so it did take me longer than usual to graduate. Took me 6 years. After that, I was able to go to grad school, so I went to USC where I got my master's in education. And I'm hoping to receive my doctoral degree, fingers crossed, in a few years.
So today specifically, I was actually here just to hang out with one of the Underground Scholars, Alejandro, and honestly, I was gonna leave some of my stuff in his dorm because I'm coming for a summer program starting on Friday where I'll be living here on campus for 10 days. But generally, the reason I'm here is it's the community. I feel like we have a really good community and like the camaraderie. It's a second family. And everyone here means a lot to me. I definitely appreciate it. It's very motivating to occasionally come down here.
Man, my homie Chris woke me up early in the morning and was like, yo, he wanted to kick it. So I was like, all right, for sure. And he always checks in with Hector and Diana, so I had to come and check in too. It's been too long, you know. I always love to see the family and whatnot and check in, make sure everyone's doing well.
How would you describe working with the Underground Scholars, the students on campus?
I mean, when we walk in, used to like, hey, do you want some water? Do you want some coffee? Let me grab you snacks. Just growing up in like that Latino household where it's like, people come in, you offer like water and stuff like that. So I try to make them feel comfortable. Anytime students come in, I'll usually ask like, have you checked out basic needs? And they're like, no. So I'm like, let's take a walk. And I'll walk them to basic needs and get their eggs and their milk. And then I'm like, hey, have you seen the culture center? So I like to be walk with them. I don't just tell them like, oh, go over here, work over there. Like I like to walk around the campus with them. I'll take them to the culture centers. If there's ever like workshops or events going on, I'm like, hey, let's go together. So I want them to know like I'm here to support them. Or if they're like, I walk students to like the writing center. You know, I think it can be intimidating sometimes trying to figure it out alone. So I want students to know like if you need something, like I'll stop my emails and when I'm working in my meeting and I'll walk you, or like you need to go to counseling, let's go to counseling, let's get your referral, you know. So just kind of being like that source where like they can come in with any question. I have students in the beginning who are lost, so those are usually my favorite because I get to give them a cool little tour and just kind of show them like, or like download this app, or like Zout Finder, like download this. We even have like a bus on campus, so a lot of times I'm like, have you taken the bus? So I ask like basic needs. Have you went to the bus, the culture centers? Have you went to the career center? Like let's go to the career center. So I think that's my way of supporting students, like showing them all the resources on campus, making them step outside their comfort zone. We get a lot of introverts, and I understand. So usually those are my favorite too, and I like to teach them public speaking skills, so I'll invite them to different events with me as well.
So like on a regular day, because right now it's summer, you know, so all the homies went back home to like wherever they live at and whatnot. But like on a regular school day, you know, it's always gonna be different. You'll see Hector and Diana for sure, like the big homies. And it's always good to check in with them, you know, and it feels really comfortable to be in there. Like, you don't have to feel like judged or anything like that. But like on a regular day, you might run into, you know, anybody really. I could run into you, Sean. I could run into like some of the homies from the program, like the homie Elijah. Like Pedro just graduated, but that was my boy. He used to always be in the room and we'll chop it up, you know. So it's really just a space for me on campus that like, it's completely different from the rest of campus, because it's like, this is the space for me where I feel like the people have similar experiences to me, you know, and just makes me feel welcomed, and like I got like a little part of home with me, even though I'm like super far from home. So I mean, that's what keeps me coming back, and I don't know, I just like kicking it here, you know, and you got all types of like resources here too, like for example, if you gotta print stuff, or you know, you just need a quiet space to be on your computer and do homework and things like that, like it's always a good space to come in and be quiet, or not, you know, you could chop it up with your homies and whatnot.
At what point in your life did you realize that education was the route?
So I would say like I first realized that on my last prison term. So I did 3 different prison terms over the age of 18. And the first 2, I didn't care. I was still being a knucklehead. Education wasn't on my mind. It was there halfway through my last time I seen an opportunity for Coastline College to do correspondence classes. And I've always had this like desire to help people, try to not fall down the same road that I did. So I started taking classes there, got out, and then it kind of got sidetracked, but I went to a vocational school, and then eventually wound around like coming back to college because of that goal to help others and to pursue certain careers. You really need a degree. Lived experience helps, but that degree gets you in the door.
So like for me, I feel like I was kind of coming up with both at the same time. I feel like I didn't really, for me it was like at the same time I was doing both, you know, which was kind of hard. But like as I got to college and finally like moved away from all of that stuff, you know, back at home, that's when it was really like shifted more so towards education, because like now that I wasn't in that environment no more, there was no need, you know, because if you think about it, like a lot of times, like when you know, you mentioned like drug dealing, right? You know, that's like people trying to make money, like, so when I got to college and there was these resources for me like that paid for my housing, it gave me like meal swipes, so I, you know, for food and all that, like all my expenses were pretty much paid for, you know, so that there was no need for me to continue like hustling like that, you know. And so when I got to college and found out about underground scholars and whatnot, that's when I started learning about how the world works in terms of systemic, like systems of oppression. So that really like how do I say, like empowered me and liberated me, and it allowed me to see my own life through a different lens, where it was almost like I was like an outsider looking at my own life, you know. So with that knowledge, I feel like for me it makes it easier for me to kind of like take a step back and be like, all right, well, this is the best route for me to go, like through the school stuff and whatnot, you know. But you know, it's hard, right? Like I still check in with my homies for sure, you know, and it's hard to feel like I kind of had to walk through both of those spaces at the same time with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know. But I mean, I'm learning, you know, and I'm work in progress, and I mean, that's about it for me, you know. I mean, I'm working every day, like I said, to try to figure things out.
To be honest, it was definitely in elementary school. Growing up, being system impacted, my parents were always incarcerated. They were really never around. College wasn't a thing in my family, so I would always gravitate towards teachers. A lot of teachers would help me write letters to my parents, and they realized that the letters were for, you know, people that were in prisons. So my teachers would tell me that you should go to college. They would call me like Sunshine, so they'd be like, Sunshine, you gotta go to college, you gotta go to college. So I felt like college, like I always talked about it. And then when I got to middle school, I joined AVID. So AVID is a program that helps students go to college. So that honestly was the main reason I went to college. That's the first time I ever went to a college campus. So I would say by the time middle school, I was determined, like I'm going to high school. I would do community service. I would join clubs, create clubs, do internships. I would try to do the best I could. And even all of high school, I had the A through G requirements. So when counselors would try to give me like the wrong classes, I'd be like, no, that's not A through G. So I feel like I was always like college going. And I feel like education like kind of steered me away from trouble, from gangs and drugs and like lifestyles that my family were like, you know, currently struggling with. And it just kept me like really like my happy place. Like school was always my escape from reality. I always loved reading books. I always loved learning. And every time I learned something, I would like share it back to my community, to my grandma, anyone near me. I'd be like, hey, did you know this and that? So I always felt like education was like fun in a way.
How do you feel people receive you being tatted up and formerly incarcerated?
In educational settings, I feel like originally I thought that it was gonna make me like an outcast. People wouldn't be open to me. They'd be like intimidated. I don't feel like I've encountered that. I feel like people might be a little reserved at first, but they're able to look past all of my tattoos once they get to know me, talk to me a couple of times, and they open up, and it becomes actually kind of like empowering to get rid of that stigma that I'm black, tattooed up, and so I must be a bad person. I feel like people see that I'm not.
So we do tons of work off campus as well. Of course, one of them would be going into juvenile halls. We just officially are getting ready to launch our incarceration to college program. It will be 3 phases. So phase 1 is about 20 weeks where they learn about being a credible messenger and fine arts. We have students who are into music, art, tattooing, me with poetry, lots of poets. So we bring art in the way of healing to them. So when they're done with those 20 weeks, then we bring phase 2, which is from incarceration to college, and they're able to actually earn 6 high school units, and that makes a huge difference for these students because they're able to like kind of start falling in love with education, and education makes them feel confident. I've seen it when they're like, oh, I passed the class, even if it's like a C or a B or an A, and you get like that self-esteem, like, you know what, I'm not as dumb as everyone has made me feel, and it gives you something positive to look forward to. They start creating portfolios, and then phase 3 would be like the career pathway. So, you know, bringing them to campus, enrolling them to community colleges, not just leaving them, but going with them to enroll whatever community college they choose. There's a program that supports formerly incarcerated. So we make sure to connect them with the program and make sure that they are on the way to transfer here. Our goal is to have the juvenile hall students go straight, graduate high school, come straight here. So that's one of our new goals as well. That's one of the things that we do. We do tons of outreach. Like for tomorrow, for example, we'll be out in LA with a new way of life. They do record expungements. So we do that. We go to PAC meetings, which is where you know, people coming home will go to these meetings to get resources on housing, jobs, school. So I love those meetings as well. So whatever events in the community that's supporting our population, we're there. We make conferences like the Prison to University conference coming up soon. So we make conferences, but we're also traveling to conferences beyond the bars in New York. You know, any conference that there is, we like to be there, just showing our name. Any community colleges that has transfer fairs, we love being able to go to the transfer fairs and, you know, try to get transfers here and give them information. So I definitely feel like we are really involved in the community, like outside and outside, not just Orange County, but we go everywhere, whether it's up north, New York, Berkeley, LA, there's like no limits.
So a lot of times people are selling drugs or gangbanging, but no one's educated them that the government has money to fund their education, because the government was going to fund your incarceration. So what would you share with those people who are missing that knowledge?
I feel like, well, I try to do this with my homies too, you know, like a lot of the times I just let them know about, like you said, like, because a lot of times homies don't know about these resources. So like, well, you'll start there, you'll let them know about those resources. And me, I try to like lead by my example, you know, because a lot of times even if you tell the homie, then, you know, they're doing their own stuff really, and they got their own lives and their own reasons for why they do the things they do. So maybe they don't see education as an option for them. So for me, you know, I lead by example, right? Like I show them that it's an option for them, and they know what's up with me. I got my own car and everything, so I go and pick them up, right? So I'm like doing my thing. I'm picking the homies up. I'm letting them know like this is an option for you. You know, like you don't gotta be doing everything like how you've always been doing it. Like school could do that for you, you know? So it's not really like glorified, it's not glamorous or nothing like that. And so I feel like a lot of the times homies don't want to gravitate towards it, but for me it's just about trying to like set that example and let the homies know that it's possible. And I feel like also like letting them know like what do you really have to lose, right? I mean, you already been through the worst of the worst pretty much. Like, I mean, I dealing with like things like addiction, like homelessness, like gang involvement, incarceration. Like you already gone through like the worst that you could go through. So like this school stuff is like, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's definitely, I like what the homie Flacco from the program always says. He'd be like, oh, this is bubblegum shit. That's what he always says, you know? Like that's his famous little quote right there. So I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, you know? And like I said, man, like these resources, they're like, I feel like a lot of the times for me, what it was I was thinking like, oh, we don't have that much money, you know, so how can we pay for school? Like the less money you have, the more money they give you, you know, so that's like something that I didn't know. So for sure communicating that. But yeah, I mean, being like a credible messenger is another thing, you know, like that's another thing that the homie Flacco and Berto do from the program. They had the Credible Messengers program. Being somebody who, like you said, Sean, comes from this background, being able to convey that message to someone is, in my opinion, the only way that the message will get conveyed. Because if it was somebody else trying to tell this message that didn't have that lived experience, I feel like it would fall on deaf ears, or at least for me it would.
For me, I'm gonna say that it's a saying I hear a lot. One of the most sexy things right now is being formally incarcerated and going to school. And a lot of us originally have this stigma like we're not welcome here, and maybe sometimes we like have a hatred for the people that graduate these institutions, feeling like they think they're better than us. But what I would tell everyone is there is a spot here for us. It is a very welcoming spot, and there's all kinds of systems designed to help us succeed and continue to get on. As I got older, it wasn't fun anymore to be gangbanging nonstop. It got tired, and I got tired of prison, and finally seeing that there was something different. I try to lead by example. So me being here, I'm hope that shows others that you could be here too.
Once you graduate, what's your ultimate goal? Say you finish, you graduate from UCI, what's the outcome that you want to see for your future?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that recently, because I mean, before I wasn't really thinking that far ahead for some reason, but like, honestly, I'm torn, you know, like I kind of don't really know, but I do think in my heart that I want to continue to do this kind of work, serving this population of students. Maybe I'll go to like grad school, hopefully. Like I really want to go to grad school, but I don't know how that whole process works. But I feel like once I get there, I'll figure it out. And I got a lot of support with me through the program, so I feel like it'll be okay, you know. But like I said, like what I really want is to just be able to like continue working with this population and continue giving back to the homies, you know, to everybody who's been through it too, you know. If I could say one thing to the homies, I would say it's okay to not be like in the streets. Like I know it's super glorified, but like trust, like it's not really what you think it is. You know, it's really fucked up actually, and you lose your homies. You know, your homies are dying, your homies are getting locked up, and it's just like it hurts. You know, like so. I know that for me, even, you know, like I glorify it too sometimes. I can't even sit here and lie, but I just feel like if you could go and make it to school and you could make something of yourself through school, because it's like a pathway, right? Like, dude, you know, what's stopping you, man? So, and I gotta say, shout out to my homies from the States, you know, and I gotta say, long live Lunatic, for real, though. And I gotta say shout out to the Underground Scholars from all the UC campuses. Shout out to everybody from Project Rise, you know, Project Rebound, everybody. I got love for all y'all, and keep that shit up. Keep doing what y'all doing.
So my goal, based on where I'm at, is to graduate at Santa Ana College, transfer here, graduate here, and then I want to get into a career helping like at-risk youth. Because I remember back when I was growing up, hearing people say, Chris, you're gonna end up dead or in prison. And I wouldn't listen because they weren't relatable to me. I want to become that relatable person, because I think if the person was relatable that was telling me, I might have thought twice about the things I did that led me in prison. So I want to be that person and help others.
If this video happened to reach thousands of young teenagers, what would be one thing that you wanted to leave them with to finish off what you're sharing with us today?
I would tell them all that they can do anything they set their minds to. And I would hope they set their minds to doing something good and succeeding, and the sky's the limit. You can literally do anything you want, and there's various different routes of getting there. But I feel like education is one of the quickest and best routes to getting to greatness. And I hope I see you here one day. Peace, everyone. Have a good day.
Do you feel like being from South Central gives you an edge in any space, whether academic, the community? Is there something special about South Central that gives you something special, basically?
I would have to say yes, just because it was just the culture that we grew up in, especially in schools, just being part of the LEUSD system, and then growing up as an educator, viewing other schools, realizing that schools in South Central were low funded. It almost felt like the school to prison pipeline, and I seen it, lived it all the time. My friends would get incarcerated, arrested, or like, you know, even handcuffed for like fighting. Even like there would be food fights, and I remember even participating in food fights, but then the school police would catch you and handcuff you, so I was lucky to always get away. But that just made me realize like it is like a funnel, and a lot of my most of my friends did end up getting incarcerated. Few of them did go to college, so that also made me realize that it's hard to come from certain communities. And I had a lot of imposter syndrome, even through grad school, because being from South Central, it almost felt like the language was different, so I had to learn to code switch a lot. The violence, I had a lot of PTSDs. Like, I don't like fireworks at all. Like, just like a lot of gunshots. Even like seeing cars drive by slowly on campus, I'll be like, oh, is that a drive-by? And I'm like, wait, like I'm on a college campus. Like, you know, so a lot of like the street trauma, it has helped me to better prepare other students and really understand what students may be going through, even growing up in single parent households, having parents incarcerated, having friends in and out of the foster care system. So I feel like I can, to an extent, can understand the trauma that students are facing or maybe going through. So I always say that I'm from South Central, like in a humbling way. And I like to tell students, one of my favorite lines is like, look, if I can do it, you can do it too. And a lot of people would tell me like, oh, you made it out. But to me, it was like not really made it out. Like I figured out a way to like leave and like see the world and just gain knowledge so I can rearrange how everything's approached down there. So like pretty much I have a lot of people from South Central that I work with, mentor. So I'm even able to talk to families in Spanish, a lot of undocumented students students that live out there too, like letting them know about the resources. And a lot of times when I speak to people from like certain neighborhoods that can relate, they don't know about FAFSA, they don't know about like student housing, they don't know about scholarships or EOPS or the Guardian program or programs like Underground Scholars or Project Rebound. So I let them know like, hey, there's tons of money out there and resources, because nobody told me when I was in high school or middle school, besides my avid family, nobody really told me like, hey, like you should go to college or you should go to a 4-year college. A lot of times they just advocated. I remember like the army would come and stuff like that, or like community colleges, which nothing wrong with that. I love community colleges, but nobody ever said, you know, you can go straight to a 4-year university, until my avid teacher was like, you can go straight. And I was like, oh, can you show me how to get there? And, you know, just go straight. So now I'm able to help other students as well. I think a perfect example would be my younger sister. She didn't see herself at a UC. She just wanted to go straight to work like all her other friends. And I was like, no, like, look, like I can do it. You know, I can go to school. And she was like, you know, we don't have a dad around. So she was like, it's just mom. Mom has no money. And I was like, don't worry about it. So, you know, she was able to get fully funded, got tons of scholarships. And now she's here at UC Irvine. But I feel like if it wasn't me telling her, like, look, I'm from where you're from and I made it out, like sometimes you need a mentor. And I like to be that mentor, especially in South Central, telling everyone, whether you're undocumented or like, you know, leading gang, or you have a record, or you're dealing with substance abuse, like there's always a way. And for me, I have 3 favorite words, which is education and recidivism. And a lot of times I feel like education is so powerful. So especially a lot of my friends that are currently incarcerated that are from South Central, I let them know, like, just because you're incarcerated, like it's not the end, it's just the beginning. Like you're gonna come home, you can join these type of programs, and there's gonna be help and support and love and counselors and students. It's like a family that has been through what you've been through, and like we're here to help you. I would definitely say like dream big. I know it can be scary to be like, oh, I'm going to college, especially when no one in your family knows about college, and you know, you might be like in the family that's like gang related or like drug selling and just going through a lot. Just know that education is a way out. Education is powerful, and just look for resources. You know, there are resources and you can go to college. It is possible. There's people like us and programs like us that are here waiting for you to make it this far, so we can help you. We not only help you graduate, well, you know, we want you to go to grad school, and even when you graduate, you know, as an alumni, we'll still keep in contact with you, and it's almost like a lifelong mentorship that you have with us. And when my parents were coming home, they were afraid to go to college, so I wrote like a short little poem for them called Dear Future College Student. I was able to perform it on both visiting rooms, so that was pretty fun. So I wanted to share that with you all, and just, I feel like everyone is a future college student. You just gotta start seeing yourself. It's almost like a garden, like, you know, we're here to plant the seed, but once you plant the seed, it's up to you to water it, to make it grow. We'll provide the sunlight, we'll provide the food, but you gotta help us so you can grow. So this one is called Dear Future College Student. Dear future college student, you are more than just a number. You are human. They can take everything away from you, but they can never ever take away your dreams. What if I told you it's never too late? You can still dream, you can still earn that college degree. You can still be a parent, just be there fully in spirit. Like Nipsey Hussle says, it's not a race, it's a marathon. Like Kobe says, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. How do you want to be remembered? What will be your legacy? Like Tupac says, for every dark night, there's a brighter day. In fact, there's people like us that fight for your freedom every single day. In fact, that's why we are all here today. Dot, dot, dot.
Boy, that was dope. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Alejandro. Shout out to Chris. You guys killed it, man. We appreciate you for sharing what the UCI Underground Scholars is all about. And if you ain't in the know, you out here, it doesn't even matter if you're from Southern California, if you're from the nation, if you're from the world and you've been incarcerated, or you have a loved one that's been incarcerated, reach out to Diana Greer, reach out to Hector Cervantes, our director. Shout out, we didn't reach him today, but we're going to be sure to do an episode just on Hector. His story is big, and he's our director from Santa Ana, so we're going to catch up with him eventually. But for now, I'm glad you enjoyed that content. And just remember, don't you ever let a judge take your future from you. Restore to justice. Peace.
That's good. You could do what you like. Don't let the judge take that from you.